Hi, I'm Tom, and today I want to talk to you a little bit about high-performing teams and how to create the right environment for that team to perform at its best. So, a lot of the language these days that we talk about is working from a challenge backwards. What is the challenge that this team face, and therefore, what environment do we need to create in order for us to overcome that challenge? So, I've been very lucky over the last few months to work with the Western Province WP Currie Cup team, and trying to create the environment that would be most useful for us. So the challenge, coming off a difficult Super Rugby with some difficult external things that got in the way or that were influencing this team, was to create a stimulating environment that could allow players to grow, but also that allowed them to connect to each other and to a sense of greater purpose. And that's where we decided to go with the Yellow Submarine. So the Yellow Submarine was based a little bit on readings of General Stan McChrystal's Team of Teams, as well as Turn the Ship Around by David Marquette. And we decided to change a lot of little things along the way based on the initial challenge, which was stimulating, connecting, enjoyable environment. So, of course, a lot of the normal fun stuff that John Dobson, the head coach, is so famed for, remained, and then little changes went along the way. So out went big team meetings, long team meetings. Out went the tired-looking daily schedule, and in came mini rotational meetings. In came a green and red card system, which I'll get to now. In came daily challenge sheets. In came online conversations between the players around tactics. In came the singing of the song, The Yellow Submarine by the Beatles. In came weekly mini themes. The management as well came up with process trackers, something that they hadn't done before. So just looking at 5 things that they would track every week to see whether they were improving, which would then lead to us ultimately winning, but which would hopefully lead to us creating the environment that we wanted or needed to create. So the green and red card system I wanted to talk to you about, there was a moment just before the semi-final, and a team meeting was about to end, and one of the senior players actually stopped the meeting ending and said, "I just want to say something." And he said, "I want to hand a green card to 2 particular players. These 2 players hadn't played in the competition and were unlikely to play in the competition. And he said, I want to hand them a green card for all the effort that they've put in to help this team become the best that they can be, and all the effort that they're going to put in the next 2 weeks." It was a wonderful moment where I realized, wow, we've actually achieved true connection. We've achieved an environment where people can be a little bit vulnerable and people can be honest with each other in front of the group, which is a little bit of a rarity in these types of environments. So what I mean by the red and green card system. So we had a system where a green card was something that you would give to someone else in the team, management or players, to reward them or acknowledge quality or high-performing behaviors. And a red card was something that you would give to each other to say, this was something that I noticed you did that wasn't up to standard, and this is a way you could do it differently. So a way of giving constructive criticism, which really was, as I said, there to allow for openness and honesty. We didn't get it perfectly right, but it was certainly a step in the right direction in terms of shaping the environment we wanted. So the Yellow Submarine grew, and unfortunately the campaign wasn't a successful one if one looks at what is the currency of sport, which is winning. It was one where we ran an unbelievable campaign for 6 or 7 weeks, going unbeaten through the pool stages, only to be tripped up at the final hurdle in the final, losing. There were a couple of things that stood out. One was looking at some of the responses from the players on the campaign. 2 players who've probably got about 20 years of professional rugby experience between them said to me that this was the most enjoyable and stimulating campaign that they'd ever been part of. What we also saw was management and the leadership group, which were called the Admirals group, working together and each playing their role collaboratively to ensure that the environment that we wanted was created. Ultimately, though, the one thing that this environment or this team suffered from is we didn't get the opportunity and the privilege of losing. We didn't get the privilege of pain. When going unbeaten, often what happens is one doesn't realize or see all the little things that might be going wrong. So and I'm not pointing fingers at anyone. In fact, I'm pointing many fingers back at myself. Ultimately, when it got down to the crux, we weren't able to continue the process that we had done for the first 6 weeks right at the end. And I think that's something that we learned a lot from. When you lose, you often learn more and you get that little bit of extra drive. When you don't, you've got to be even more vigilant around the things that might be going wrong to ensure that you don't trip yourself up when it counted. However, I think when I think of the story in the semi-final, the team was in extra time and the guys were absolutely knackered, absolutely buggered. And over the tannoy in the stadium played the song The Yellow Submarine by the Beatles. And one of the players shouted at the teammates and said, "Chaps, it's our song, it's our song, it's our song." Which was just a little lift for them. So ultimately, I think this was a campaign that all of us will remember. A campaign where we were able to meet the challenge required, but we also learned from the little things that tripped us up. So think challenge back, think use all your leadership, and think being creative, changing small little, as I call them, dominoes along the way that might begin to shift your environment towards something that is useful. I know that this Yellow Submarine campaign is definitely something that a lot of the people involved will learn from going into the future, despite it not being a successful one. Thanks so much for listening, and please follow me for further talks and insights along the way. Thank you. Bye.